Proverbs 8. Proverbs 8, 32 through 35. You can just have it there. We're not going to read it just yet. So tonight, what I'm bringing to you guys is we all go through seasons, right? And this season, we're heading to the season of fall, okay? And I was thinking about that, the different seasons we go through in life, and how there are negative ones, there's positive ones. We could say, like, right now, I'm really going through a bad time, I'm going through a hard time. There's times that we say, you know what, I'm really going through a good time, you know, and it just comes and goes, and we can't really determine my good time is coming next season, or my bad time is on its way. We can't determine that. We probably wish we could, so we could prepare for it, but you can't. When it hits you, it hits you. All right. And there's a season for everything. We've all read that. There's always a season for absolutely everything that happens here on this earth, and even in your lives, the way God ordains it is. There's always a season for everything. There's some enjoyable ones, and there's some unenjoyable ones. But without the unenjoyable ones, we can't really appreciate the enjoyable seasons. And there's seasons that we want to avoid, but they're necessary. The season specifically I'm going to be talking about is the season of favor. The season of favor is that season that when everything God has been putting on your heart, now is the time where it starts coming to life. The season of favor is the time when the results of your obedience and the results of your faith, that is what you're going to see in that season of favor. And you're like, well, does God have favorites? I mean, what do you mean the season of favor? Doesn't he favor absolutely everybody? Yes, he does. But I don't want you to confuse grace and favor. There's some people that think, oh, they're the same. I don't think they are. Grace is something free. All you gotta do is accept it. Here, God is saying, this is my salvation. Here it is. Accept it. You don't have to do absolutely anything for it. All right? But to receive the favor of God, you have to pursue him. You have to seek him. It's not an automatic thing of, well, I got grace and I got favor. No, you got grace. Doesn't mean you have favor necessarily. Because I could believe, yes, I believe in the Lord, he changed my life and all that, but I don't necessarily pursue him. I don't necessarily obey what the word says. I just keep living my own life the way I want to, but I believe in him. You know, I do the church thing, I believe in him, and I read the Bible once in a while, but I don't really pursue his favor over my life. I pursue my favor over my life. And you have to think of, well, am I pursuing his favor over my life, or am I pursuing my own favors? The favors of my own heart, not the favors of God's heart. Which one am I doing? All right? There's seasons that we really like to try to avoid and go around, but we just can't control that. In Acts 1:7, it says that the times, because this is when the Lord was presenting the Holy Spirit, and he was telling Peter and the disciples, hey, the Holy Spirit's going to come. And they're like, well, when? He's like, I'm not telling you. It is none of your business when the seasons come and the time that God has ordained. It is not up to you to know when these things are going to happen. Okay? We don't know. We don't know when these things are going to happen. We wish we can, but when it hits you, it hits you. Especially those things that we really just were not prepared for. It hurts. Like we're living through life, and all of a sudden, the doctor says, hey, you've been diagnosed with cancer. Wow, that just put a halt on whatever I was doing. That's quite a season, you know? But I don't want you to think that just because you're going through that season does not mean you are not favored. Because just because you see somebody going through a hard time, you're thinking, man, what did they do? Did they really sin against God? Like, what is happening with them? Like, oh, that's what they get. You know, I don't know. It's like, no. Just because I'm going through a hard time doesn't mean that I'm not favored by God. Doesn't mean that I'm not pursuing him. It doesn't mean that this is part of his favor. Because just because I'm favored, and just because we're going through his favor in that season of favor, it does not mean that it's always going to be a good time. It doesn't mean it's always going to be all flowers and candy because I'm favored by God. No. He's going to say, hey, according to my favor, this is what you need to pass through, according to mine. And don't worry, because once you go through that, there will be a season of favor where now I'm going to act on your behalf and the favors upon your heart. Because if you're seeking his heart, that means whatever's in your heart, he put it there. All right? So when you're seeking those things that he put there, obviously they're going to come to pass because it's the season of favor. It's what he's put there, and he's like, there's going to be a season where what I put in your heart is going to happen. Those are the times when he begins to move people and move certain things for his purpose to pass. Yeah. It's the season of favor is when God begins to move. God begins to influence certain people for his purpose to pass in your life. All right? So when we go to, one more thing. You are not entitled to the favor of God.
That's good.
It is not something that, I do everything I'm supposed to do, so I should be favored. Like, he owes me something. He owes me favor. No, it doesn't work that way. Favor still flows through his grace. And grace is not something we deserve, and favor is the same thing. You are not entitled to that, okay? And when you think about it, there's a lot of people that have a great life. It doesn't mean they're acting under the favor of God. There's a lot of people that have absolutely, I'm not lacking anything, I'm good, I don't have anything. I don't lack anything, I've got it all, I've got food, I got money, I got whatever I want, I don't really have any problems. That does not mean you are favored by God. Because people look at those people and say, like, wow, God, you must really, have something special with them or something. Like, do you like them more than me? Is he your favorite? And I'm not? Like, what's happening here? No, it doesn't mean you're necessarily favored just because you have all those blessings. God blesses whoever he wants to. But you know how we have friends or family members that we love them and all that, and they do things that we might not be in favor of. But I still love you. And God works the same way. Look, I still love you and everything, but I don't approve of that. God's favor is the approval of what you're doing. And there's a lot of people out there doing whatever it is they want, and God is like, yeah, I'm blessing you, but I don't approve of what it is you're doing. I don't have favor over what you are doing. And when that favor comes to your life, whatever it is that you touch and do, since it's something that God put on your heart, it works. It comes to pass because you are pursuing what he's put in you. All right? So you ask yourself, how do I receive God's favor? How does this happen? You have to pursue him. So when we go to Proverbs 8, 32 through 35. And it reads, "And now my sons, listen to me. Those who keep my ways are happy. Listen to instruction and be wise. Don't ignore it. Anyone who listens to me is happy, watching at my doors every day, waiting by the post of my doorway. For the one who finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord." So it takes certain things of me that I have to do to pursue God's favor for him to bestow that upon me. I have to listen to instruction. I have to watch at his doorway. Well, if I find him, I find favor. And favor follows obedience. All right? And just because, again, you're not lacking does not mean that God is in favor of you. Because there's so many times in the Word where the author was right. The authors were right. Like, man, the wicked are prospering and I'm here not. The sinners are the ones prospering and the believers are the ones that are not. Because that's the way he was seeing it in the physical realm. But God said, look, they can be prospering, but it doesn't mean they have my favor. You can go prosper, you can go do whatever you want, but my favor won't be upon you. You can go use your talents for the world, or you can use them for me. You can use them for the world, but my favor won't be upon you. You can use them for me, and my favor will be put upon you. And then for listening to instructions, we could hear instructions, but listening is actually taking action on instructions. Because we could hear a bunch of things that when we're sitting down and all that, I could hear what's going on outside or whatever, but listening is actually like, oh, well, what is that sound? I actually start paying attention to it. When God gives instruction, am I hearing or am I just listening to it? Am I just saying, oh, Lord, oh, okay, cool, fine, whatever, but I'm not actually going to go find out and see what it is that you're saying. Hearing is actually paying attention to what is it that you're saying, God? What is it that you want me to take action on? What is it that you're trying to bestow upon my life to actually do. And waiting at his doorway. That means I'm sitting there waiting for God to come out and give me that instruction, to speak to me, to talk to me. I'm waiting at the doorway to see, what do you want me to do next? Which way do you want me to take now? But this takes energy. And it does take a certain kind of effort to pursue this, to pursue God's favor. It's not something that comes easily. You have to fight. Your flesh is going to want to go the other way, but you have to actually tell your flesh, no, you are going this way. There's times where you literally have to take your flesh and say, no, you're coming with me. You want to go out to the world, you want to do whatever you want to do, but no, I'm going this way, and you're going to come with me to the way that I'm going. All right? And then it also says, for the one who finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. The ones who pursue him, it's not just believing, it's pursuing a relationship with him. Because for my couples here, when you got together, you pursued each other at some point, right? When I got married to my wife, she pursued me first. And she was going to be like, well, you're not responding, so I'm about to quit. And at that point, when she was about to quit, I'm like, okay, I'll start pursuing you. Now I'll do my part on it. But you see how it goes both ways. Because now I'm in favor of my wife, and she's in favor of me. She's my favorite wife. Because she's my only wife. So she's my favorite, right? And you see how you treat people who are your favorite, right? Because you have a favorite movie, you have a favorite artist, you always have a favorite something, and there's a reason why it's your favorite. You have delight in it. That's what favorite is. You have delight in what it is that's happening or whatever that person's offering. And the Lord works the same way. It's not that he has favorites, it's just, this one's being obedient, so I'm going to show favor over their obedience. You're not showing me an obedience, so you cannot talk about the person who is obeying me. You cannot expect my favor. You're saying, well, God, you're doing so much for him. Well, look at his life. Look what he's doing. If you're pursuing him the same way he pursues me, you're going to get the same treatment. But if you think that you can sit there and just coast along, and yeah, I mean, I'm going to bless you, but you're not going to get the full advantage of being a favorite. Because how are favorites treated? We've seen them at work, we see them in the family. We're all like, yep, that's the favorite. They get away with everything and this and that, yeah, that's the favorite. God doesn't have favorites.
That's right.
He does not say, oh, he's my favorite, so I'm going to lift him up. Oh, he's my this. No. God just favors the ones who pursue his purpose. God favors the ones who say, you know what, Lord, you put this calling in my life, and I'm going to pursue that calling that you put over my life. So when things start happening, when God starts moving things for his favor to come to pass over someone's life, you cannot get mad. You cannot get angry. You can't say that, oh, God's picking on me. Oh, God doesn't like me. Oh, that person's more holy than I am. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. They're just simply pursuing what God has put in their life. They're just simply pursuing that calling and that favor that God has showed them. They're just pursuing it. That's it. Now we're going to go to Ruth. Ruth 1. So I started this by explaining to you what favor was and what us as Christians have to do to pursue the favor of God. I had to explain this to you first so you can understand what we're about to read and where it actually comes into play in real life, where it actually comes into play in the Bible where God showed his favor on somebody. Are we there, everybody? Ruth 1. So, Ruth, they were living in Jerusalem. Ruth and her husband, Elimelech, were a couple. They were living in Jerusalem, and they had 2 sons. All right. But while they were there, the Lord sent a famine, and that caused them to move. The Lord caused a famine where they were living and caused them to move. He choked out their resources and said, you need to go move. And I'm sure some of you have been in that place where God just cuts the source, cuts your resources. All of a sudden, it's just not the same of where you are, and now you're forced to move somewhere else. Whether it's moving from a different group of friends, whether it's moving to another state or another country. I don't know what it looks like to you. But some of us here have actually had to move away from something because God cut the source and he says, I have a plan, you need to move. And we might not see it at the moment, like, God, why am I moving? Why are you moving me this way? Why are you moving me away from everything that I know? Because you have to understand, in Jerusalem there, everybody praised God. Everybody did the same way. This was like the ultimate Christian community. This was like a Lake Nona of that time, but everybody praised the Lord. Absolutely everybody. Everything was great. Everything was like, everything was just so Christian. All right? And you can imagine, man, what if I were living in a community like that? It'd be interesting. Well, that was that community, whatever you're imagining in your mind. Okay? It was basically a bunch of, imagine Faith Assembly being Jerusalem, but that's every day. That's what that was. Okay? That was Jerusalem. We were so comfortable in our ways here and in our God. But not every the surrounding areas praised that God. They praised other gods. It was for them to move. I mean, that's a big deal. It's like, well, we have to what? We're moving from Jerusalem? That's a big deal. Because now I have to go deal with whatever gods they're praising over there. And I'm going to be the odd one out. Because I'm like, I praise the Lord of the Lords, and you guys praising I don't know what. And I can't come here and tell you, like, hey, you're wrong. Like, because then, you can get in trouble. They would kill you. That's how it was back in the day at that time. All right? But nowadays, and I would never tell somebody who practices another religion, like, you're wrong. But in my mind, I'm like, you're wrong. But I'm not going to tell you, because you just can't do that anymore. You can't do that these days. Can you imagine if I actually do that? You're wrong. Why? I believe in Buddha. You're wrong. Sorry, you're just wrong. Okay? So they have to get up and they have to move. All right? So we could start at number 2, Ruth 1:2. The man's name was Elimelech, which is the husband. All right? The husband of Naomi. I'm sorry. Ruth was someone that comes later. It was Naomi and Elimelech. Those were the 2 that were married, and they had 2 sons, and they had to move. And his wife's name was Naomi. The names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, and they were Ephrathites from the Bethlehem in Judah. And they entered the land of Moab and settled there. Naomi's husband Elimelech died, and she was left with her 2 sons. Her sons took Moabite women as their wives. One was named Orpah, and the second was named Ruth. And after they lived in Moab about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 children and without her husband. So not only are you forcing me to move, but you moved me and took everything from me. I did not do anything to deserve this. I lived in the ultimate Christian community, and I praised you according to your word. I did everything I was supposed to do. So you cut my sources and you cut my resources, which then forces me to move. So that I move thinking, oh, well, this move, maybe it's a good thing. I'm gonna get a good thing out of this. Nothing bad's gonna happen. Everything's gonna go well. But it doesn't. It doesn't go well. She loses her husband and she loses her 2 sons within 10 years of moving. And sometimes we think when we're going to move, this is a good move. Nothing's going to get in my way in this move because God is telling me to move, so it just has to go smoothly. There can't be anything that can go wrong. I'm moving. And we have that in our heads when we do that. Because sometimes God tells you to move, but sometimes He tells you to stay. And you have to determine, is God telling me to move, or is God telling me to stay? So when you're moving without Him telling you to move, yeah, you're going to have some troubled times. Absolutely. But in this case, God was telling her to move. It wasn't that he was like, no, I need you to stay, and then she moved. No, I'm telling you to move. There's a famine. There's no food. Because if he just does it, hey, I need you to move, they'd have been like, I'm not doing that, Lord. He works with people different ways, and he knows how to get them to move. There's some people where he says, if you move, I need you to move, they'll do it with just him saying it. But there's some people that he's like, no, I need to cut resources for this person to move. Because they're that stubborn and hard-headed, I actually need to physically take something away for them to actually move. All right? So, they move. They move to Moab, like this says. And she's only left with her and her 2 daughter-in-laws, which is Ruth and the other female named Orpah. All right? So she and her daughters-in-law prepared to leave the land of Moab because she had heard in Moab that the Lord paid attention to his people's need by providing them food. All right, come back. It's time to come back. After 10 years, I moved you away. Now it's time to come back home. There's something happening here. Okay? There is a purpose to this. There is a reason for her move. And now he's telling her, okay, I need you to move back now. There's food. I brought food back. You can come back home. All right? And so she left the place where she had been living, accompanied by her 2 daughters-in-law, and traveled along the road leading back to the land of Judah. And to the 2 daughters, she blessed them, all right? She was blessing them and pretty much telling them, like, hey, go back to Moab, go find yourself new husbands, go do, just don't be with me. You don't want to be with me. I have nothing to offer you. And they all stuck together after the husband died, and after all the husbands died, they all stuck together. They were a family, all right? These people, they were one family unit. They grew very, very close in that time. So then when Naomi's like, I'm going back to Jerusalem, I'm going back to Judah, they're like, okay, well, we're going to come with you. She's like, no, don't come with me. Go find yourselves new husbands. It's just being with me. You're not going to get anything out of it moving over there. Okay? So if we start there at 8, she said to them, each of you go back to your mother's home. May the Lord show faithful love to you as you have shown to the dead and to me. May the Lord enable each of you to find security in the house of your new husband. She kissed them, and they wept loudly. No, they said to her, we will go with you to your people. But Naomi replied, return home, my daughters. Why do you want to go with me? Am I able to have any more sons who become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. Go on, for I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me to have a husband tonight and to bear sons, would you be willing to wait for them to grow up? Would you restrain yourselves from me marrying? No, my daughters, my life is too bitter for you to share because the Lord's hand has turned against me. And even with the Lord's hand turning against Naomi, she never lost her faith. She never cursed God or anything, but she recognized the Lord has turned his hand against me. And it wasn't necessarily the Lord turning his hand against her. She was just going through a season of drought. They were all going through that season of drought where there's no food and there's no water. And now I have to go move somewhere else, and there's absolutely nothing good happening in this season. It's just chaos after chaos. It's just trouble after trouble. It's just problem after problem. She is in that season right now. It's not necessarily that God turned against her. He's just saying you need to go through this season. Okay? Because the season of favor comes after the season of drought. So, I need to bring you through this season of drought, number one, because I had to bring you over there to Moab to pick somebody up and bring them back. But she wasn't seeing it this way. She just saw it as, the Lord's messing with me. He's joking around with me. This is not a good practical joke. Don't joke around with me like this. She wasn't taking it as like, oh, you know, there's probably like a plan. No, she was just like, the Lord turned his hand against me. Does that mean I don't believe in him anymore? No. Does it mean I lose my faith? No. And because of what she did during this season is why God later on, as we read, will bring a season of favor over her life. Because she did not act that way in the season of drought. You want the season of favor to come, it really depends on how you act in the season of drought. If you're going to act all mopey in the season of drought and just break your connection with God, break that relationship with the Lord, you can't expect a season of favor. You can't expect that. Depending on what you do in the season of drought and how you react to it is how the season of favor then is going to appear. So, both of them wanted to go with her. And in 14, again they wept loudly, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. Another thing Naomi was doing was she was thinking these girls want to be with her for like what she offers. You know, like, oh, well, she offers this, so we're going to stick with her. No. Here we actually see they loved Naomi for who she was and the type of mother-in-law that she was to them. It wasn't because of what I can get from you. Because there's people that do that. I'm just with you because of what I can get from you. That's it. And once I can't get what I'm trying to get from you, I'm just going to move on and keep on going and leave. That's not what they were there for. But I feel like Naomi had this thing of like, they're thinking they're going to get like husbands out of you or something. Like, hey, I can't offer that to you. And they're like, we don't really care. We just want to be with you. That's it. We're not here to get something out of you. We truly love you, Naomi, and we want to be with you. But the only one who stuck around was Ruth. Oprah was like, fine, you know, I'll go back, because she was so adamant. Naomi was adamant. She had an attitude about this. She, you know, the word says like this, but she was like, don't come with me. Do not come with me. Go away. My life is bitter. She was probably in that depression mode where I just want to be by myself. I don't want to be with anybody. Just leave me alone. I'm going back to my home. Leave me alone. My life is too bitter to share with you. Okay? And a lot of times we have that attitude with God. My life is too bitter. You know, I'm not the definition of what it's supposed to look like. So, Lord, some people feel like they cannot approach Him because of how messy they are. And the enemy likes to use that. The enemy likes to use I feel so guilty, I feel like such a mess, I can't approach the throne, this and that, and that's how he keeps you away from it. I don't know why I said that, but I said it anyway. Now I'm going to keep going. So, Naomi said, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her God. Follow your sister-in-law. Well, listen to what Ruth replies. Okay, Ruth, right now, is somebody that has absolutely nothing to lose. She has nothing back in Moab. She has nothing there. I've lost it all. I lost my husband. I have nothing really to go back to. So I have nothing to lose following you to your land. Okay? Nothing to lose here. All right? So she says, do not persuade me to leave you or go back and not follow you. For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May Yahweh punish me, and do so severely, if anything but death separates you and me. It wasn't just that she had nothing to go back to, but she saw, even in that time that she was with Naomi in Moab, when other husbands died, she saw her attitude. And she said, there's something different about this lady. Because she's not acting how all these other people would act. She's acting different. There's something, that God, because I'm sure she's probably shared her God with her. Naomi probably shared her God with her daughters-in-law and all that. Ruth saw that. She's like, there's something here. She's like, I'm going with you back there. I want to know this God that you were speaking to me about. I want to know this God that, because she saw, even in that season of drought, she saw the favor of God over Naomi, and that's what was drawing her. That's what was drawing her close to Naomi. I see the God in you, and I want to cling to you. Sometimes people want to get close to you. It's not necessarily because of you, it's because of what's in you. All right? It's because of what God has put in you. And since what God has put in you is not for you to keep, people are going to cling to you because they're like, I want what you have. I want what's inside of you. And there's some people that are like, they're just going to be behind you, just kind of like hanging out, like, I'm just trying to get as much as I can from you. This was Ruth. She's like, I'm going to be with you, Naomi, until the day I die. You said it. I want to receive from you. I want to take what God has put in you, and I want to receive from some of that. I want that, and that is what God used. For Ruth to make this statement, she's never really lived that kind of life, doesn't really know much about God or anything, but she straight up said, your God will be my God. She had nothing to lose. What God can do with somebody who has absolutely nothing to lose. This is all great. House is great, cars are great, all this stuff is nice. But do I have it, or does it have me? Does it keep me, or am I willing to let go of it at any point in time because the Lord says, do it? Nothing to lose. That's another thing. God, there's so much favor over them. Like, what are you doing? Well, he has nothing to lose. He doesn't care about losing things. He doesn't care about things that are going to perish. Or she doesn't care about losing things. She doesn't care about things that are going to perish. Once you have nothing to lose, you'll see how I'm going to show favor over your life as well. But Ruth here, I mean, this is quite a statement for someone who's extremely brand new to the faith. Your God will be my God. From that day forward, she didn't look back. She went with Naomi. So 18, when Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped trying to persuade her. She's like, I'm not going to stop this lady. She's just going to keep following me. She's going to keep running after me. You know what? You can come. The two of them traveled until they came to Bethlehem. When they entered Bethlehem, the whole town was excited about their arrival, and the local women exclaimed, can this be Naomi? Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, she answered, for the Almighty God has made me very bitter. That's what it was. Naomi was feeling bitter. I want to be by myself. I don't want anything. I don't want to. I'm in a state right now that is just, it's made me so bitter because of what God has done to my life. But the Lord has brought me back. I went away, in 21, I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. It's not supposed to work that way, is it? I'm supposed to leave, come back with full, and be like, hey, I'm back. God did something with me while I was gone. Look at me now, this and that, because the people are looking at her like, oh, hey, Naomi's back. But she came back like, that was a horrible time. Don't ask me about it. That was a horrible time. I don't want to talk about it. It was terrible. It was a terrible time to be in. I don't want to hit, because you know when you do something and people want to come to you like, hey, what happened? You're like, I don't want to talk about it. Don't even ask me about it. I can't talk to you about it right now because it's going to fire me up and it's going to get me angry. I can't talk about it right now. So they're like, oh, look around me. Don't even call me Naomi. Okay? God isn't good to me. Call me Mara because he's made me bitter and I came back empty. I came back with nothing. All right? Horrible time. So why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has pronounced judgment on me and the Almighty has afflicted me? So Naomi came back from the land of Moab with her daughter-in-law Ruth, the Moabitess. They arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Wow. So she's coming back at the beginning of a harvest. Very interesting. I came back empty, and I'm coming back to a land where they're at the beginnings of a harvest. The harvest of barley, the harvest of wheat. That's good, because I came here empty. That means I need something. And it's great because I came back at a time where we're harvesting the food now. So I came back from an empty place, and now I'm coming to a place where, wow, we're actually about to start eating again. She's not seeing it yet. She's not seeing that I came back empty and I'm coming now to a harvest. The season of favor is coming. The harvest is going to come. Because of that time of Naomi going through what she went through, okay? Now she's going to get into a season of harvest and a season of favor so she can recoup from what she went through. Because of her obedience and her faith, okay? God, ignore the other stuff. I can say it. I'll tell God, I'm mad at you. Like, doesn't mean he's cursed me and you've lost your favor. No. You've lost your grace. No, you can tell God, I'm mad at you. I am mad at you. And then he does something like this, and you're like, all right, I see why you did that. Okay, I see what you're doing here. Okay. So they're going back to a harvest. She's about to collect the fruit of her faith and her obedience. That's what harvest is. That's what your season of harvest is. It's when you start collecting the fruit of what you just went through. You start collecting the fruit of your faith. You start collecting the fruit of what God has put inside of you. Now it's time to actually start collecting. Because it's ready to be served. It's ready to be used in that season of harvest. Okay? So when we go to chapter 2, now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side named Boaz. He was a prominent man of noble character from Elimelech's family, which was Naomi's husband. Ruth the Moabitess asked Naomi, will you let me go to the fields and gather fallen grain behind someone who allows me to? Wow. So these people are gathering grain, right? They're going through the things, gathering grain, and Naomi's like, look, I just want to follow them and pick out what they're dropping. Okay, I just want to pick up what they're dropping, pick up behind them, and so we can eat. Okay? She's getting behind the harvester and saying, man, I just want to take a little bit from her. I just want to take what it is that they're leaving behind because I'm so thirsty and I want something. So while you're out there harvesting and you see somebody following you, it's not because necessarily, oh, you know, it's just leave me alone. No, let them follow you. When you're in your season of harvest and someone's following you into that harvest and they're picking up the scraps of what you're dropping, let them. The thing is, not everybody's willing to do that. Not everybody's willing to do the dirty work. Not everybody's willing to actually follow someone and actually start from the bottom and say, look, I'll do what I have to do, whatever it is, that's fine. This is all I want. Okay? And because of this act alone, you'll see what God does to Ruth as we keep on reading, because she was willing to start at the bottom. She didn't go in there and say, I'm going to be the harvester here. Get out of my way. No, you need to start from the bottom. You can't just come here and just, oh, I'm here. I'm with Naomi. Let me harvest. No, she said, hey, will you allow me to, if they let me, just to go behind them and pick stuff up? Just let me go behind them and just pick something up. And there's people that have stories of where they started with the Lord, how they're like, you know, either when it came to the house, they're like, yeah, I started cleaning bathrooms, and then it just, ooh. Or I started back here. And I wanted to stay there. But I had a drum set. I did not want to go to the front. Just leave me in the drum set. Just leave me alone. I'm behind my drum set. I'll provide you some drum beats. And that's it. I don't want to go up here. That's not for me. I just want to be that guy. I just want to be the guy that plays drums for everyone, you know? That's it. And when you're willing, when God sees your heart and where you are and where you're willing to start, all it is a test of, if you're obedient to me in something this small, that means when it's something big, you're not going to have any problems. It starts with the small things. All right? It starts with the small things. If Ruth was willing to get behind someone to pick up scraps, not even harvest, look, I'm just picking up scraps, that's somebody God can work with. But the one who's not willing to get behind and pick up scraps, God can't do anything with that. I can't. Because you can't even be obedient to that. When I ask you to leave and move, you're not going to do it. I can't work with that. Ruth, without her knowing it, is pursuing the favor of God in this moment. I'm willing to get on the floor and pick up the scraps of what someone else is leaving behind. And that even brings me back to the time of the lady that was at the table of God, and God says, oh, you know, don't feed your scraps to the dogs. And the lady's like, I could be a dog, but I just want to be in your house. That's it. I'm okay being a dog as long as I'm in your house. And after that, the Lord blessed her. Because he said, that's what I'm looking for. A humble heart. I'm looking for a humble heart that's willing to get down and pick up the scraps. Because we've all done that before. To pick up the scraps of what someone else has done sometimes. Whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, we're the ones that have to be there to pick it all up. And sometimes we get tired of always being the one to pick it all up. Some of you are the ones that, yeah, I'm kind of like the glue of the family. You know what I'm talking about? Like, man, if this person were to die, we wouldn't even see each other. Because they're the ones that keep us together. And that gets exhausting being that person, right? It gets exhausting being that person to always have to pick up after somebody. Oh, I'm always the one that has to fix everything and this and that. It gets exhausting being that person. It does get tiring. It gets tiring always being the one picking up the scraps behind somebody else. Because that's the one that nobody sees. Because we see the big guy up there, but we don't see the person behind praying for that person. They go unnoticed. We don't see that person. We just see the front, but we don't see in the back. We don't see all the people that are interceding. We don't see all the people that are praying for God's Spirit to move. We ignore those people. We look down upon them. Oh, that's just a scrapper picker upper. Whatever. Me, every time I see the janitors, whether at school or at work, I'm like, oh, what's up? How's it going? I don't treat you any differently. I don't do that. There's somebody that just passed by, whatever. Oh no, the janitor will pick it up, just leave it. We've all heard that one before. Oh no, they'll pick it up, just leave it. The thing though with hotel rooms, my mom, she thought it was home still. So she's like, oh, make the bed. I'm like, no, Mom. No. You got this all wrong. She's like, oh, put your maleta under here, do this, do that. I'm like, no. Mom. We're on vacation. It is their job to make the bed. If we make it, they will get fired. Okay? Because there's no bed to make. All right? Let them work. Okay? So 2:2. Will you let me go into the fields and gather fallen grain behind someone who follows me, who allows me to? Naomi answers her, go ahead, my daughter. So Ruth left and entered the field to gather grain behind the harvesters, and she happened to be in the portion of land belonging to Boaz, who was from Elimelech's family. Later, when Boaz arrived from Bethlehem, he said to the harvesters, the Lord be with you, and the Lord bless you, they replied. Boaz asked this servant who was in charge of the harvesters, whose young woman is this? He noticed her. He noticed Ruth. All right, I don't know if she was the only one doing this, but if there was others or whatever, even the main harvesters, he's like, who's this girl? Who's this girl? This is the owner of the land here. This is my land. And out of everybody, he says, who's this girl? Who is this girl who just came here and just started picking up behind the others? He noticed. Sometimes you guys feel like you just go unnoticed. Nobody notices what I do. Nobody notices what I offer. Nobody notices, well, just the greatness I bring. Okay? Nobody notices me. There's a lot of people that have that mindset like, man, just nobody notices me. Nobody notices my ideas. Nobody notices my actions. And the thing with that, when you go unnoticed, it's very discouraging because you feel like, what am I doing this for? What am I doing this for? If nobody's noticing, because us humans have this thing of we do things for people to notice. Well, I'm going to go do this so someone can notice, and maybe I can move up or something. I don't know, but I want someone to notice so I can be in the spotlight or something. I want people to notice what I do. Ruth didn't have this attitude. I want people to notice that I'm picking up scraps. Like, no, she's just like, this is what I have. This is what I'm going to do. But a lot of us go through life, man, I want somebody to notice. I want someone to notice me. And when we go unnoticed, we get discouraged and then we stop because no one's noticing. But we forget who we're doing it for. We do it for God. Whatever it is you're doing for God. You don't work for your boss. You don't work for your mom, your dad. No, you work for God. He notices. That's the only person I need to notice. And if he notices, then he's like, okay, I'm noticing. I'm going to make somebody notice you. Because if you're humble, I will exalt you. If you're not humble, then I'm going to sit you down. I'm going to bring you to the back. But if you're in the back and you're humble, I'm going to bring you to the front. If you're doing things with the attitude of somebody notice me, God is not going to exalt you. Your actions will speak for themselves. You won't have to speak about yourself. People with pride and the whole attitude of I want to be noticed, they talk a lot about themselves. Look what I did, look what I did, look what I have, look what I did, look what I have, look what I did. That's all they do, just talk about themselves. God is not going to exalt that person. He's like, well, there's nothing for me to do, so you got it, right? But the person who doesn't exalt themselves, he's like, oh, I have room there. There's room for me to do something here. There's room for me to exalt you, because that's what he likes to do. I like to bring people out of nowhere. The one that somebody least expected, that's the one I like to bring up. The one that everybody looked at and unnoticed them, that's the one I like to bring out. And wow, look, people are noticing you now. But they still have that attitude of, God, I don't care if people notice me or not. I do it for you. For you. I'm almost done. 2:6, the servant answered, she is the young Moabite woman who returned with Naomi from the land of Moab. She asked, will you let me gather fallen grain among the bundles behind the harvesters? She came back and has remained from early morning until now, except that she rested a little in the shelter. She's doing it all day. She's a hard worker. Then Boaz said to Ruth, listen, my daughter, don't go and gather grain in another field and don't leave this one, but stay here close to my female servants. I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay with me. I like the way you work. I like you, and I want you to stay here. I want you to stay here working on my land. I don't want you to go anywhere, all right? Things are starting to look up here, all right? The landowner just noticed Ruth, okay? And Ruth came out of nowhere. She's not even part of them. She's not a Jew. She wasn't born there. She's not of that culture or of that society. She's an outsider. She is an outsider coming into a nice inner circle of Christian people. Okay? This isn't her culture. This isn't her. She is a foreigner. She is an outsider coming here. Insiders don't like outsiders. They don't. Sometimes when you're like approaching a new group or whatever, they're like, well, what is he doing? I don't know. It's like a whole little like, well, you go feel them out and then you let us know how he is or she is. To let them in this group. Sandra knows what I'm talking about. To let them in this our little circle, you know? Now these are people of God, so they're not like that. But in the world, people are like that. Okay? And so 9, so which field they are harvesting and follow them? Haven't I ordered the young men not to touch you? When you are thirsty, go and drink from the jars the young men have filled. She bowed with her face to the ground and said to him, why are you so kind to notice me, although I am a foreigner? I'm someone from the outside. I'm not really from you guys, and you noticed me. And that's what God does. He notices the foreigners, the outsiders, the ones we think God can't do anything with that person, and all of a sudden, boom, the Lord exalts them. He makes somebody notice. Somebody is going to notice you. They will. And God will exalt you. Because that's just not them noticing. That's God saying, hey, I will reward you. The favor is coming. I know you lost your husband. Okay? And you have to imagine Ruth. She's coming from a totally different land and coming into something different that she has to get accustomed to now. Because Naomi did that when she moved, so now Ruth has to do the same thing now that she's moved. Okay? So Boaz answered her, everything you have done for your mother-in-law since your husband's death has been fully reported to me. How you left your father and mother in the land of your birth, and how you came to a people you didn't previously know. May the Lord reward you for what you have done, and may you receive a full reward from the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings have come for refuge. Ruth already know, I need God in my life. That's who I'm going to. And Boaz even says here, I heard. It has been reported to me. Ruth didn't say anything about herself. She didn't say, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. No, I already know what you did. It's been reported to me. Somebody already told me about you. Somebody already exalted you without you even knowing. So now when your name comes to me, I already know what I'm thinking about. Oh yeah, Ruth, yeah, she did this, and this. She didn't have to tell anybody. Her actions spoke for themselves. People noticed. People noticed her actions. People noticed what she was doing. And she did not have to go to Boaz and say, this is what I've done. He already knew what she did. When he saw her, when he went to that field, he's like, oh, that's the one. That's the one they were talking to me about. That they reported me. They gave a report, hey, this is Ruth. This is what happened. This is the situation, okay, with her. All right? And she did not have to exalt herself. She didn't have to do that. May the Lord reward you for what you have done, and may you receive a full reward from the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings you have come for refuge. God touched Boaz, okay, and he touched Boaz to notice her. Boaz is a landowner. This is a very prominent person, okay? And we see how God took Ruth from her land a brand new believer, and all of a sudden, boom, things are starting to look up. Favor is starting to show upon Ruth here. Naomi's coming, okay? We'll get to her. Favor is starting to now show upon Ruth because of her faith and because of her obedience. That's why. So when we go to chapter 4, in Ruth, chapter 4, 13 through 16, in between there, some events happen to where Boaz purchases Naomi's dead husband. He had land there. And Boaz said, okay, well, I'm going to buy that land. But when he buys that land, he also gets Ruth. Okay? So he does this. He buys that land and he gets Ruth. So then now, we skip to here, 4:13. It says, Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife. And when he was intimate with her, the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. Two things here. Ruth was left husbandless. She thought, I'm never probably going to find a husband again. I have no idea. No idea what's going to happen here. Not only does God give her another husband, he gives her a rich husband. She gives her a husband that's like, wow, man, this guy owns land and stuff. He gives her a good one. Not only now does he give her a good husband, but she's thinking, I don't know what I'm getting into getting in this new land. I don't know what's going to happen. But right when she got there, God already started working. Okay? So, as we go on, then the woman said to Naomi, praise the Lord who has not left you without a family redeemer today. May his name become well known in Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. Indeed, your daughter-in-law, who loves you and is better to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him. Naomi took the child, placed him on her lap, and took care of him. The neighbor woman said, a son has been born to Naomi, and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. So Naomi lost 2 sons. And in God's way, he now allowed her to raise another one, Naomi. Ruth had the child, and Naomi's like, oh, I'm going to take this child like it's mine. You can say Obed maybe had like 2 moms in a sense that were always there. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Just there, you know? Like him, he's got maybe 3 or 4 moms. My son and my daughter. Okay? This is what's happening here. God, what was lost, I am now bringing back to life. What you thought you lost and was never going to get back, oh, I'm going to give it back to you, but I'm going to give it to you better. Because Obed is what? The father of Jesse, the father of David, and Jesus' lineage of who? David. So Ruth, this foreigner, this outsider, she didn't do anything crazy. Now she's part of that lineage of Jesus. So we see what we talked about last time is just Jesus' lineage is full of imperfect people and full of foreigners. She was a foreigner. She wasn't part of that clique. But somehow, some way, God included her to show people, I don't do that. I use anybody whenever I want. I don't care where they're from. I don't care what they do. If I want to use them, I'm going to use them. I'm an inclusive God, not an exclusive God. I am an inclusive God. I include absolutely everybody. And those who pursue my favor, they're going to see things happen. It has to. You might go through a season of drought, like they did, but eventually that season of favor is going to come when things actually start looking up, where things that God has put in my heart is now coming into connection with his time. With his time where he said, okay, now this is going to happen. But Ruth didn't see at the beginning that he had to send her over there to bring Ruth back. Because he already planned it before the whole earth. Ruth, you're going to be the father of Obed. Or, yeah, Ruth, you're going to be the father of Obed. But Naomi, she didn't know that she was going to be used to bring her there so she can get with Boaz and have a son. She didn't see that part. She was already thinking, oh, this is bitter, this is stupid. Man, this is so like, why am I doing this? This is ridiculous. But then we see, oh, that's what all that was for. That's what all of that was for. You brought me there to bring Ruth back because she's the only one that clung to her. God knew Ruth is going to cling to her. Naomi's going to try to persuade her, but Ruth is like, no, you ain't going to get rid of me. I'm coming with you. There's something in her spirit that said, like, no, man, like, I need to stick with Naomi. I need to stick with her. Brought her back, and she ended up having a son that she never had with her other husband. Let's stand.